we're live with the delay still going. And then I just got that for Twitch, so I'm gonna bring this up. It looks I'm going live just on YouTube. It looks like both of the streams are on Twitch. Let me get this posted here, and then okay. He gave me a link to the Twitch channel, but not the stream, so I don't think he's streaming just yet. Oh, there we go. Just went live. Yep, just went live. Okay. And finally, there you go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, welcome. This is the first official weekend that we are doing. That is, it is actually mandatory to do live streaming of the matchups for Ocean Cup 4 through the Fleet Network. So this is the very first time that we're going to be able to hang out with everybody and be able to do some commentary. Today with me, I have none other than Wargaming's very own Final Boss. And it's always a pleasure to have you, Final. You know me and you. I think we get along pretty well, and I think our commentary does pretty well off of each other. So I'm glad to have you. Thanks for jumping in. Yep, USS Legends. Yes, I do believe so. So the winner of this will end up moving on into the next round of playoffs. Yeah, and I'm just sending Rooster and Spank messages saying we're good. We got everything. I think it is. Yeah, right. Yeah, so it looks like Spank. It looks like he's the team captain. He did take the Delaware, and then Rooster's their team captain. He took the Z-46. So he does bring in the sonar destroyer, smoke sonar combo. But yeah, it's interesting to see Lucian not there. Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, definitely being able to bring big guns into the game as well as being able to use those airplanes to ward off enemies, keep people flooded, keep people on fire. They're very valuable in these matchups. Mm-hmm. And then one of the other things that I did notice too, and I forgive me if you did say it because I might have missed it, but they it looks like USS Legends brought 3 destroyers, and then it looks like WASP only brought 2 destroyers. So a little bit of an interesting change up, going with 3 cruisers as opposed to 3 destroyers. Yeah, and I think we've seen that time and time again on these matchups, that getting the caps earlier swung your way, getting that point swing heading your way, makes the other team be more aggressive and prone to making more mistakes. So it might tip my hat there to USSL getting into the caps, getting them contested, and they already do have B captured. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm watching. I'm watching from Spank's viewpoint right now. It looks like he is keeping HE loaded, so that must be what he's thinking, is just keeping people lit on fire, or keep the damage cons running on the other team by using the hybrid torpedo drop planes as well. Looks like he just got a fire on the Palmer in there. That's looks like yeah, Spartan Reggie, No Mercy Clan. Okay, so that's one of their. That must be one of their. God, the word always slips my mind, but what? I don't understand why your audio is coming through.
Yeah.
I think I got it. I
Uh,
think I got it.
Then you've
Yeah.
got it. Is it working
Yep.
now? I did suggest an
You
audio
did.
check
You did. You called.
in
Yeah. You
advance for
called me
this
out
reason.
for sure.
Let's see.
Once again,
Hopefully they can hear
I
me
make
now.
the bonehead mistake of on Streamlabs, making the bonehead mistake of hiding my Elgato, and I forgot that not only when you hide the Elgato capture card, not only does it hide the screen of my Xbox, it also hides the damn party. So that's my bad, but
Okay.
Yeah. I always make that. I always
Two for
make.
two
Yep. I
now.
always make that mistake with you, final. We're gonna make that a. We're just gonna make that
Yeah.
a running joke from now on.
Hopefully people can hear me now. I mean, we missed a bit of commentary earlier on, but it was mainly just kind of evaluating the destroyer plays. USSL intentionally came in with three destroyers, specifically so they could rush all three caps and get the early captures in. Whereas Warfare at Sea Pacific have been playing a bit more conservatively. We haven't really seen any hyper-aggressive destroyer versus destroyer trade-offs, though. Both teams are using them more for spotting and for quietly contesting. The hybrids are doing a lot of heavy lifting,
Yeah, I have no.
especially for
I
torpedoing
did
everybody.
notice that
Yeah.
USSL did lose one of their destroyers. I'm not sure exactly. I might have been trying to fix the Elgato. It looks like it was down on A, so he might have got radar trapped by somebody. So they did lose one. USSL did lose one destroyer here.
As I kind of predicted early game, though, when we saw the initial lineups, yeah, the Delaware, the Delaware pick of both teams is definitely focused very heavily on just making it very difficult for anyone to kind of push or rotate from one side to another through their B spawn. And we have the Z46. The USSL Z46 is kind of making the WASP St. Louis very uncomfortable as he's trying to kind of retreat and withdraw behind the island again.
It
Go
looks like
dark.
Rooster did just get one torpedo hit on one of Wasp's battleships there. I'm not quite sure which battleship that was sitting there, but it is the one that's sitting on that island on A. It looks like Rooster had to dive down into try and contest A after he lost one of his destroyers.
It appears that we're seeing a very well rehearsed strategy from Warfare at Sea Pacific here. They weren't particularly interested in getting in the caps first. They were more keen on just getting their ships into kind of advantageous positions with relatively good firing lines and crossfires, setting up kind of like these ambush points. And now that they've managed to get themselves a bit more comfortable, they've taken down a destroyer, they've pushed in and contested a few caps. And I think now we're starting to see the Warfare at Sea Pacific strategy come out live, kind of later game, really, and it's starting to show because they have a lot of really healthy ships
And
in
now a
really competitive
gunfight
positions.
between Menacing and
Yeah. There it is.
Menacing and Rooster. There comes the radar.
Yeah. Seeing it, the destroyer trade-off. USS Rooster's pulling out with the Smaland. Yep. And there we go. That was a very quick
Very
trade-off.
quick, yes.
Now, I think we're going to see the Z46 trying to run and go dark.
I think the
sure.
torpedo
It's
you just saw Rooster take was from the Delaware. I think he ended up taking one from that. It looks like King Ping though is going to get him. Yep, there it is. And it ended up being Monkey. Monkey ended up getting him from with the St. Louis.
Now, the thing is, we have a case where we have some really strong, the Delaware is still full health. The other Warfare at Sea Pacific destroyer is still full health. We have these really full health ships kind of ready to go for late game now. Whereas we're starting to see, unfortunately, USSL are starting to take some big health losses and they're losing their health battle right now. So late game, they're going to have to play a bit more conservatively to try and reduce the enemy's health without losing too much of their own to kind of neutralize the playing field right now. But we're still seeing these very comfortable Warfare at Sea Pacific ships not moving from their predetermined spots where they obviously went in at the start of the game, you go here, you go there, they're set up these line of fires and it's working really well for them, and just unfortunately USSL are having a really hard time kind of moving some of their anchors and getting them out of these positions.
100%. That is what is practiced in a training room session right there. You're gonna go here, you're gonna go here, you're gonna go there, and this is what we're gonna do if this happens, and this is what we're gonna do if that happens. That's exactly what I'm seeing from WASP right now. That's just you're absolutely right. They had rehearsed predetermined positions on the map, and they knew prior to going into this game what 5 maps they were going to be playing on. And I do believe I have the map lineup here. If I can X out for just 1 second, I'm gonna go to Discord here and I'll show you what I got from Spank. But he gave me these 5 maps right here. We have the Atlantic first, followed by Land of Fire, then Crash Zone, and then if we need a Game 4, it goes to Warrior's Path, and if we need a Game 5, it goes to Northern Waters. So again, if you already know the maps, that's really big when it comes to actually planning out, rehearsing, doing things in training rooms and such.
We are seeing B shift. The Delaware wasn't able to get a spot on whatever was capping B, and there wasn't really any kind of allied destroyer or cruiser assistance in the area to radar and kind of push them out. So B is shifted now. So we might see USSL take a more defensive strategy here and kind of pull back a little bit and try to neutral, minimize the point lead that Warfare C
Boy,
Pacific have.
I want to highlight
has
the bold
finally-
move that Monkey just made down on A. It looks like he just got A cap back for WASP. That was a bold move because he's got a battleship looking right at him.
Yeah, he's pulling back and he's withdrawing behind the island. However, this shift of B has kind of forced the Delaware to have to be a bit more conscious now. You can see right off the rip he's called this out because he knows for a fact there was an enemy destroyer in B that at any moment could come around and shotgun him and just take his full health. So he's obviously called that out, and we're seeing the radar cruiser coming in to assist, the other destroyer coming in to assist in gunboat, which is pushing the enemy destroyer back out of B, and we're seeing this objective once again swap sides.
I think Spank's going to get
fourth time.
I think
this battle.
Spank's going to get No Mercy Clan right here. The No Mercy Clan mercenary Spartan Reggie. Looks like he did damage con it though,
Yeah.
but he's on a sliver of health. Oh, there he goes. He got it. Looks like a gun hit from. Oh, who was that? I couldn't see it. It was too quick.
USSL are holding on though. They were slightly less on health and less ships, but they're still trying to get these crossfires going, and they're trying to get at least hard on a flank. They have a cruiser on the flank of C. Unfortunately, they just don't have the spotting over there to really utilize it. So they have a cruiser who's sort of just out of the battle at this point because he's got no one to shoot at. Whereas the USSL destroyer is trying to switch the cap again, but I think he might end up meeting the enemy destroyer and a radar in doing it. I think they're ready for B to try and be switched again. Yeah, there we go. We're going to see a gunboat battle right now in B. Warfare at Sea Pacific was sort of waiting for this to try and shift again.
I'm going to go ahead and switch over to Rooster's viewpoint here. I kind of want to see this. Okay, and he's following SK Womp, which looks like actually another mercenary player they had for him.
If USSL's destroyer goes down in B, that's going to be game. Like they have no means of contesting these caps anymore. And I think we're going to see that right now. Yeah, Mogador's gone down.
Lightfoot. Okay.
That was unfortunately it was a great game.
Mm-hmm.
Warfare at Sea Pacific had a really good play here, and we could definitely see the difference in strategy. USSL's strategy was to go in, get the caps first, and then play defensively, whereas Warfare at Sea Pacific strategy was to not necessarily care about getting in there first, but just more focus on getting like the golden spots, the really advantageous island crossfires and so on, and then kind of try and shift them back out with destroyer radar combos and force enemy destroyers out of the caps and shift them over to their side, and it played really well for this map.
Unlike what we sometimes see,
Delaware
sometimes see in standard matches and things like that, this it's really fun to watch and actually be able to see the maneuvers that are made over the course of a good 14-minute match. There, I mean, we went down to 2 minutes left in the game before you really saw this swing. It was still 6-on-4.
Yeah.
There was still one cap going for one team, two for the other. Just really good gameplay to watch. Map positioning is key, everyone.
This Delaware, though, having 2 assists and a frag with 3 top hits and still basically being full health and able to still kind of utilize their battleship aspect really shows, though, how influential these hybrids are on this map, especially at contesting B.
You think we see maybe a little bit of a change up in ships taken for USSL? You think they might take a hybrid next?
I think they might take a Lucian for sure. Like that, unfortunately, that they were lucky that they were able to take Warfare at Sea Pacific's Lucian down so quickly, but they still, although they had the destroyers to constantly keep switching these caps, Warfare at Sea Pacific had radar cruisers in very convenient places, so every time they pushed in to try and switch the cap, the radar would go off and they would lose a destroyer, and it would be very, yes, they would get the capture back, but at what cost? Because they would all lose a lot of health doing
Spank did change up his
So,
ship. I didn't see which one he... Okay, Musashi. Okay.
It's good. Yeah.
So
Musashi is a ship that's particularly great at sitting further back. If you don't really have a designated position to park it, but you want something that's big hitting that can sit and punish anyone who's trying to switch flanks. Musashi is going to be
The
your pick for
overmatch,
that.
the overmatch
So,
potential is great, but the thing I worry about in taking either Yamato or Musashi into a game is the fact that,
cheeks.
well, not necessarily the Citadel for me. It's the fact that they don't move very well. You're going to get lit on fire, and you might as well just get used to the fact that you're going to be a permanent burning wreck.
If you have battleships in convenient places with crossfires set up, where if they try to open sail their ship, they get punished, having a Musashi at the back of the map to play support on both flanks might not necessarily be a bad play. It's just a difficult one to pull off, especially in this level of play. But I'm curious to see what the USSL destroyer play will be here. If they'll pick 3 destroyers and try and do the early cap again. As you said, we didn't really see the Warfare at Sea Pacific strategy come out until 6 or 7 minutes into the battle, because for the first 4 they were just spending the whole first half of the battle sailing into a position while undetected and getting comfy. So this was the complete shift. USSL was like, their strategy happened all in the first 5 minutes, and Warfare at Sea Pacific strategy happened all in the last 5 minutes. And like the in between was this gray zone where we were just watching weird exchanges that no one was really prepared for. And
Yeah,
then when the destroyers encountered each other, it happened
WASP
instantly.
definitely played that game to drag out the match, as in like they weren't planning to win it in the first 5 minutes. They were going to make the timer go, and they were just waiting for people to make mistakes.
Yeah.
Got it. So it looks like Rooster is going to take the Z46 again, running a Blue Fiora build. So he definitely wants to throw torpedoes at people. And then Spank's running the Musashi with a Takagi build.
Takagi. Let's see. I'm really so. Land of Fire is a very kind of island heavy, almost straight line firing lines map where you don't really have a lot of wiggle room if you want to sit comfortably. There's not a whole lot of places you can do it without being at least shot at by something. So I think we're going to see battleships with big HP pools and a lot of accuracy for these long range duels. But I'm really interested to see what cruisers that are brought
Okay,
in,
so
really. More than
Gemini's
anything.
got Minnesota, Womp's got the Delaware.
Yeah, again, okay.
Seeing the
So
Palmer
we are
again.
seeing these big
Yep,
HP.
bringing the Palmer in again.
Yeah.
Sage going with Elbing, Lightfoot with the Mogador again. Rooster's going to be taking the Z46 again, and Snake was last game. Snake was in the Buffalo, wasn't he? Yep, he took the Buffalo again. So and then Rogaru has Petropavlovsk there for our fellow players on USSL. Again, USSL, that's USS Legends. And then WASP is Warfare at Sea Pacific.
So we are seeing already. So we have USSL taking the Elbing, presumably to try and be a counter radar cruiser gunboat. We're seeing 2 Z46s. We have the really big HP accurate battleships coming out. You've got Minnesota, you've got Delaware. I assume they have Pommern to try and switch caps because they were having difficulty with switching caps last game and they were losing a lot of health doing it. We have 2 Petros, 1 on each team. So Petropavlovsk is obviously going to be a favorite for this series, I think. 2 Buffalo. Again, Warfare at Sea Pacific is in one dilution again. So we're going to see
They did make a change up though.
I feel like
they did make a change up. They
Yeah.
did go from 3 cruisers now to taking 3 cruisers and 3 destroyers with only 2 battleships. So they dropped a battleship and added a destroyer for this one.
I think it's more for the intelligence play. Like I said, this is a map where you basically have like lanes, A, B, and C. You're all going to be firing in a straight line, like directly down the lane. So having a spotting capacity on all 3 sides is quite important for this map, and I think that's why we are seeing 3 destroyers aside. Though we are seeing a lot. It appears Z46 appears to be the kind of the favorite for this league, at least in terms of people picking, so they can try and do area denial inside these captures with that long duration sonar.
So and again, everybody out in the chat, this is the first round of Ocean Cup 4 that it was mandatory to be streamed, and that's why we're bringing this to you today with an actual matchup here that need to be streamed. There's a couple other of the guys out there, Angel Rambo and Where Are You Aaron? They're covering a game or two out there. I'm not sure what matchup they're doing right now, but I think they have one going on. And there's not with this being the first time that we're getting to see live stream footage for Ocean Cup 4, there's not a whole lot of intel out there. So I think what you see a lot of times is a
No, we're
little
seeing their
bit of,
strategies the
yeah. I
first
think what
time.
you've seen there too is a little bit of a guessing game about how they want, how many and what kind of ships that they want to take into battle. So I'm honestly looking at WASP here, as in they saw USSL take 3 destroyers, and I think they're trying to mirror it.
At least on this map, it is important. Like you have these very island-heavy lanes where lines of spotting is almost always obstructed in 2 out of 4 directions. No matter where you are on the map, you know if you were to say north, east, south, and west, you're always going to have at least north and east obstructed or south and west obstructed. So having these 3 destroyers for the spotting is really important. But it also means you're going to have a high risk of these really kind of 1 versus 1 gunboat fights very early on, which both teams I'm sure are very eager to avoid. We are seeing the St. Louis getting torped and spotted already by the hybrid battleship. So we are seeing the spotting coming into play kind of very early in the game.
Just from Spank's
It's
perspective here, it doesn't look like Mare's in any kind of danger from him. But yeah, it just makes you maneuver and shift. That's what those hybrids really bring to the game. They don't allow the enemy cruisers to just sit behind an island. You have to maneuver.
we're also seeing kind of a shift in strategy here. Like Warfare at Sea Pacific have seen USSL be hyper proactive in their capturing, and they maybe realized that last game losing or almost losing all 3 caps in the first 2 minutes wasn't great. So they got in the caps nice and early this time, and it seems that USSL are playing a lot more conservatively this time than they did last time. So it's almost like a role
WASP has
reversal.
captured C.
You had Yeah, and we have like there's a pretty major contest going on in B, because on B both sides you can see there's a radar cruiser on both sides of B right now behind the islands cozy, and then both teams have a destroyer in B as well, so they're sort of waiting to see who spots who first and have that radar
Yeah, this is
support.
great because both
But I
streamers
think
are right here at B, so you're getting the perspective of
yeah,
exactly where the destroyers are in each one of these, and they are looking
you're about
right
to
at
see
each
a
other.
really nasty. Yeah, there's about to be a really nasty exchange in B. And they're both on like the far ends of the rim, like
Yeah.
as far out of the cap as they can be, while still contesting, because neither of them want to get radared or spotted. And if you're in the middle of that cap and you get radared, you're
Yeah.
shafted. So both teams are
Nobody
staying near
wants to
this
be that
island.
guy in the second match here. Nobody wants to be the first guy sunk.
Yeah, so they're making sure that they can still run away and get behind the island if they get detected. So it's just a game of like they're
Cat and
playing
mouse, man.
the old
Cat and
children's
mouse.
2D board ship. That battleship game you play as a kid with like, I'm going to strike you in
I
D1,
ate.
miss.
Hit. D4.
Yeah,
Miss.
like they're just trying to torpedo strike each other from darkness. We're seeing the first radar going off now. Yeah, looks like he didn't catch anything though. Yeah, that's interesting. That was a funny exchange in B.
King just took a
Oh.
torp. There was a nice torp there for Rooster. Very nice torp.
Yeah, let's put the Z46 down to half health. So right off the rip now, like unfortunately now, if these 2 Z46s meet each other later in the battle,
This used to be
USSL's has an
This
advantage.
used to be a much less encountered thing in ships, but I do notice that as people play World Warships more and more over time, they are actually able to use their twist and track to target when they don't have somebody spotted. They can use their twist and track to target with their torpedoes. I see that more and more lately from destroyer players that have been around the block and know what they're doing. Very good use there for Rooster. Tip the hat to that.
And it played really well because we are seeing still those 2 radar cruisers are still anchored on both sides of the islands outside of B on both red and blue side, and their destroyers are still kind of rotating in the middle to make sure, because no one wants that center cap to switch. If we do see these 2 Z46s meet in the middle, the probability is still there. Unfortunately now Warfare at Sea Pacific has a huge disadvantage because their destroyers on half health. So we are still continuing to see the "you sunk my battleship at B6" kind of playstyle, where they're trying to throw torps from
Yeah,
darkness,
and just kind of play the guessing game.
utilizing, as you said, that perceptive. Yeah, they're using perceptive, as you said, twist and
Yeah,
track.
and again, we saw Rooster's build was Blue Fiora, so he gets those torpedoes back very quickly. They lose some alpha strike, but you get them back very quickly.
It doesn't matter in terms of competitive though. If you're using your Z46 for like area denial around caps, the Alpha Strike doesn't matter so much because the main thing you're going to be encountering is the enemy destroyers anyway, and even one torpedo, is enough to shift it so that you can outgunboat them and win that
Yeah,
trade.
yeah, definitely.
So I do think like reload is the more important pick here for sure.
Yeah, he's definitely able to keep them at bay. They're definitely. You can see Wasp playing a lot more passive on B right now, knowing that those torpedoes are being spammed almost every 40 seconds.
Yeah, and their cruiser's in a difficult position now because he can't really move either because you have some really really big caliber battleships just itching for that shot. They're waiting for someone to sail out to see if they can catch them. And Warfare at Sea Pacific still have their relatively high health Mushashi. Again, they're doing is what I predicted. They're staying towards the middle of two caps at the back, kind of playing support for two different objectives. And if you look from Spankish's point of view right now, you're seeing him. He's switching his guns from C to B to C to B to see if he can catch a shot, and he's playing this really
I'm
kind
actually surprised here with it.
Well,
Doesn't look like Wasp would have shots on Rooster. I'm surprised he didn't open up his guns there. Spank's behind an island with his Musashi, and then you also see Mare. He's behind that middle island on B. I'm really surprised not to see him at least try and do a little bit of damage to Kingping there.
I think Spank is trying to protect his cheeks, and he's got these two islands on both sides of him to achieve it. Although, I'm also surprised to see that the USSL hybrid isn't trying to push him out of these islands to get that shot.
Yeah, you're seeing the Musashi right there. You're seeing Spank from Rooster's point of view.
The Z46 is also seeing if he can get tops off on that Mushashi. Right now, that Mushashi is a huge problem because if you look at the map from Spankish's perspective, right,
Yeah,
the
let's
mini
take a
map,
look.
and you draw a straight line from where he is on the mini map and see where he can reach in terms of if you had a direct line
He
of
can
sight
reach almost the whole map.
in in any like 360-degree
Right.
radius that isn't
Yeah.
obstructed by
Definitely.
islands. He has some really nasty shots on paths that battleships or cruisers basically need to take if they want to cross the map. So no one wants to shift and change where they're positioned and run the risk of catching a Mushashi shell, which is why I think we're seeing the USSL Z46 and others try and move him. Like Delaware here is about to catch a Mushashi shell because, again, Mushashi is in this position where, although he's not very impactful in terms of the amount of damage he's dealing or his major contributions, it's a very big psychological deterrent knowing you have such big, like, overmatchable firepower in a position that can really just
Well, and
crucify you out the
there's
game
the ultimate
instantly.
troll right there with two overpens.
Yeah. I mean,
Hey, can we talk about RNG
shots
for a
on the
second?
Albion as
Final?
well.
Are we allowed to? Nah, I'm just kidding. Excuse me, I'm a Bible salesman. Do you have a minute to talk about RNG?
Oh, we're going to see the Buffalo get. Oh, the Buffalo, like right now, from the USSL perspective, we're seeing the Z46 engaging the Buffalo.
Okay, that was
We might
that
see
was
this
very
trade
very
here.
quick. We just lost a few ships from USSL, and
Yep.
now he's
And the radar's
and now
gone
he's
off.
being spotted by somebody as well. I think Spank's going to be a little
Oh,
cautious here,
and,
but I think he's foaming at the mouth to put some 18.1s through the nose of Rooster there in the Z46.
Yeah, we're seeing Rooster right
There
now
they
trying desperately to take down this Buffalo before he goes down. Yeah, he's launching tops, but obviously there's the Hydro going off. Are they going to connect? No.
Well, it looks like they did trade. It looks like the Minnesota did get him, but at what point
Yeah.
here is we're kind of it's kind of like looking at the war of attrition here. You did give up.
It cost them
Yeah,
the last
that's the
destroyer.
well, there's one more, but that
Well,
that
what?
hurts. There's no destroyers now in the vicinity of the flanks. This is going to be tough for USSL to come back from.
You have to divide this map into three segments and consider all three sides a different battle, which is why taking three destroyers here is so important. So now, really, USSL can only contest one of the three ongoing battles, kind of like three micro battles within a battle. And we saw Mushashi trying to juggle two of those battles and was doing a relatively good job at it. But
Oh, and conserved a fair
We are
amount of hit
seeing the
points
rem-
too.
the-
He still only lost about 20,000 health.
he was protecting those cheeks. And like you said, Mushashi can't move, so if it gets caught out, it's caught out. But we do still have some really heavy hitting USSL ships in comfortable positions. We have, the Petro Pav kind of protecting his broadside from the enemy Musashi right now. He's got the island in the way, and he's trying to see if he can catch the Warfare at Sea Pacific Petro out in the open.
Minnesota just came out there and got some decent hits there for Spank.
I wonder if we're going to see like a hyper aggressive shift in playstyle from these two destroyers now that Warfare at Sea Pacific have, considering they have an overwhelming spotting advantage here and a point advantage. To be honest with you, if Warfare at Sea Pacific aren't looking for anything glamorous, they could just sit here on these islands like they're doing and win on points. And I really don't think USS will have the capacity to
Right,
budge them anymore.
and that's usually
Especially with their destroyers
that's
being
usually
gone.
the safe play when it comes to it. It's just, hey, we have the caps. There's no need to go out and do something dumb. Let's just let them make them come to us. It's always a safe bet.
Mm. It's so interesting. In game one, we saw the hyper aggressive like objective rush from USSL, and then in game two, we saw WASP mirror the destroyer count that USSL had in game one, and then instead they role switched where Warfare at Sea Pacific was in the caps first, but while the destroyers were pushing the caps, again we're seeing the battleships move into comfortable positions. So it's kind of like a remnant of the same strategy across two different battles now. We're just seeing the first 4 minutes or so. The battleships aren't doing much except getting cozy. And then they put their anchor down and they just lock down their line of sight. It's like, right, your job is to shoot anything that crosses this part of the map. And they do. And they just sit there. And it makes it really difficult for USSL to maneuver around the map or kind of deploy any of their strategies really, because the moment these battleships get into position, it's like if you're on the left side of the map, you're stuck there now. Because if you try and move, you're gonna get punished by really hard hitting
Rogaroo is pretty much in that spot right now where it's the most hopeless feeling in the world when you have 3 or 4 different ships just shooting at you from all angles.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we are seeing the closing credits of this battle now. Although he's going down in style, they're going to trade with the Ram. Yeah.
The
I feel like
consolation
some Legends
prize.
traditions die old, you know. Yeah, like there's some things just sort of I feel like they're tradition now where, if you're gonna win and at least give him the Ram so he gets some nice.
It's later on in moments like this too where a Musashi might be beneficial just because of its overmatch potential. He can sit there and keep hitting Savage Gemini with his shells and overmatch his armor, whereas opposed to Gemini, the only thing he could really do at this point is target the superstructure or switch to HE and try and burn him down.
USSL had a really good strategy when they came in, but the problem with having a strategy that happens all in the first 4 minutes is it also has the potential to fall apart in the first 4 minutes. Yeah. And when you're playing against a team that has a end game devised strategy where they plan on playing the whole 15-minute counter, they don't care about points as much, if you start to kind of fall apart, dismantle at the 4 minute mark, at that point, it's just a snowball where you're now continuously fighting stronger and worse odds. So it's very much an all or nothing play from USSL here, and it may have worked from them in the earlier battles where a lot of teams were playing hyper aggressive, but the moment you start encountering these stationary teams, I feel like that's the way of describing this strategy where it's like you're playing chess. Warfare at Sea Pacific are moving their ships grid square by grid square very slowly over the course of the battle.
Crash Zone is next.
It's
Crash
difficult.
Zone is next. Game 3 going to Crash Zone. So Game 1, WASP, and Game 2 has gone to WASP as well.
Yeah, I think Warfare at Sea Pacific have to take something with a bit more kind of. Not Warfare at Sea Pacific. USS will have to take something with a bit more gunboat potential. We're seeing a lot of Z-46 stalemates, but I don't think this Elbing pick is working for them. So I'm curious to see if this Elbing switches, because Elbing's only real kind of strong job is, yes, it has a huge health pool, so it can fight with the destroyers, but it's a really big
It's
target.
very
And then you're fighting
susceptible.
things like
Very
Lucian.
susceptible to torpedoes because it can't turn. It's got a battleship turning circle.
It's also susceptible to AP. Like Destroyer AP can also really hurt it. So you have a destroyer that doesn't really move much. It hasn't got particularly great concealment, and you're putting it up against things like Z-46 and Lucian, which have a really great and competitive concealment. They have competitive consumables. You have Lucian with the super heal or Z-46 with the really long duration sonar. So it's like Elbing is more of an anti-cruiser. Like if you get on the broadside of a cruiser, you can utilize that destroyer's alpha damage and just one-shot a
Hmm.
cruiser. But that's not happening because Warfare at Sea Pacific's radar cruisers are anchoring in very well protected positions where you can't get along the side of them without being spotted by one of their Z-46s or Lucians that are kind of watching those lanes. So I think the Elbing choice is making it very difficult for them because Elbing is a flanker, but there's just no opening on these flanks to get it round. At least without losing it to a twist and track torpedo or I think a faster moving, more agile destroyer with gunboat capacity is going to be the play here, especially on quite a versatile map like Crescent. But we'll
Yeah,
see. We'll
I'm
see what they
definitely
bring in.
curious to see if they switch anything up here. Looks like
I think the
from Spank's
Petros will
perspective,
remain.
he's still playing the Musashi. He didn't change anything up, and then also
Well, it
Rooster did not change anything.
worked well for them last game. I think the Buffaloes and Petros will remain. I think they might change Elbing. I mean, that would be the play that I would suggest. I still think we're going to see Warfare at Sea Pacific Solution stay. It's such a versatile ship that's able to kind of float like a butterfly and sting like a bee between these
You know,
camps.
I've gotten that on
And
the
if it
channel
gets
quite
down,
a bit. You know, a lot of people have said that is probably one of their favorite ships to play at Tier 8 just because of how useful it is to play as a solo ship as well as how powerful it is as a team ship as
if it
well.
gets damaged,
That sonar is just
it
incredible.
can just
Yep.
disengage. Like the super heal makes it able to still play late games. Like if a Lucian gets in a 1v1 early game against a destroyer versus destroyer fight, it will lose a lot of health, sure, but that super heal kind of pit stops it ready for its next DD fight.
Yep. Quick reloading guns, smoke sonar trap, good health pool, repair party. I mean, you name it, it's got it. It pretty much handles it all.
Yeah, with as expected, we're seeing them switch their Elbing.
You pretty much you
So
you
they're
pretty much
going.
look at the Lucian and you say what you need. Do you need the fence painted? We'll send the Lucian right over. Oh, we need the driveway shoveled. We'll send the Lucian right over. It does it all. It just does it all.
So we're seeing a Takashi, a long-range torpedo cruiser, coming in here. And they've switched their Elbing. They're running, the Z-46, the Wombo combo from earlier.
Donskoy
We're
and
now
Kronstadt over for Warfare at Sea Pacific. We're seeing a Lepanto.
we're seeing
Yeah,
two
Kronstadt.
Kronstadts,
Yeah,
one on each side.
yeah,
And
both
that's very
sides.
scary
That's
because
interesting.
big guns. We're seeing the big gun ships coming out. We've got Delaware, Lepanto.
More,
Takashi is an interesting pick.
You know
Like with the Citadel Takashi has, when you're playing up against, big these. It's a very scary ship to play when you're coming up against big guns with a lot of spotting. So we'll
it
see
makes
how
sense
that
though. I
works.
mean, Crash Zone is so much more
Mogador.
open, so you don't. It makes you want to
is.
get shells at longer range on target quicker.
Although it just makes it so you're even more reliant on destroyer spotting than you were previously. So if you lose a destroyer early game, it's going to sting twice as hard now. Unless the cruisers want to push up and do spotting for you, but then they run the risk of just accidentally sailing into like one of these line of fires that the battleships have set up and just catching a salvo on their broadside.
So now you see a role reversal here from not only Warfare at Sea Pacific, but you're seeing it from USSL. So last match, WASP brought 2 battleships, and now USSL brought 2 battleships with 3 cruisers, and now WASP has 3 battleships with 2 cruisers. But again, both with 3 destroyers.
But on this map, the battleships have a lot more impact. Like they're not in the last map. There were so many islands obstructing your lines of shot. But in this map, they're a lot less. If someone gets spotted, you're more likely to get a shot off, but you're also more likely to get farmed if their cruisers can get comfortable behind an island. So it's definitely a double-edged sword, and we'll see how that plays. Although we are seeing this game, both teams are playing hyper-aggressive with their destroyers. Game 1, USSL was aggressive. Game 2, Warfare Sea Pacific was aggressive. Now we're seeing in Game 3, they're all full sending it in, and all the destroyers are kind of hugging their side of the capture ellipses. And, for looking from Spankish's point of view right now, we're also seeing the radar cruisers, both on A and C, getting behind an island, just trying to get their radar range, probably to the halfway point of the captures. And yeah, the radars are going off right now, and we're seeing destroyers being spotted. So we're going to see early exchanges.
Yeah, that's a radar. That could be the
off the rip.
Smallland radar. Its potential
Yeah.
at menacing is across from him in the small end.
I think whichever team loses destroyers early game here is going to hurt late game, and we're going to see this happen very quickly in the first few minutes with how aggressive both teams are being on the cap. Although I am a bit concerned about the Warfare at Sea Pacific's destroyer on A side because on A side there's that really nasty radar cruiser behind the island now. I think the USSL A side, the cruiser they have on A, is a really advantageous position to have a cruiser. Or
Yeah,
even a
from there
battleship.
his radar could pretty much cover the whole cap.
The bigger risk is if the enemy destroyer comes on and shotguns you, because you're prone to being shotgunned, because the island also acts as a spotting blocker to stop the enemy destroyer coming at you. So I think that's both teams have the same idea. Both teams want to put a cruiser on that corner, but you can also see both teams having a destroyer nearby just to kind of defend and spot the cruiser, so that you can't just have an enemy destroyer come from the other side of the island and just point blank shotgun you and call it a day.
So I think that radar we
So-
saw came from the Donskoy. I'm just trying to analyze the map from Spank's perspective because the destroyer that's on B, they're both C-46s.
Yeah, it's a very scary lineup.
Yeah, Takahashi.
Although,
HE
to be
spammer.
honest,
Yeah.
Warfare at Sea Pacific might have to abandon C here and pull back towards B because USSL have like the really wide island angles now, where they that battleship and cruiser on the islands on the seaside, they basically aren't contributing anything to the battle on A and B. So they've basically designated two ships almost entirely to saying, right, well, C is going to be difficult for you. So I'm wondering how that's going to play for them in the later game, especially if they're struggling more on
That
the A
Delaware
and B
just
side.
ricocheted 3 Musashi shells. Interesting.
On the armor belt.
It almost appeared to me like plunging fire, but it's potential that they ricocheted off a turret. I'm not sure. I think we're going to see one
We're
more
like
time.
almost 4 or 5 minutes in, and we still don't have a ship down yet. Both teams are playing very
Passively, yeah.
very conservatively. Yeah, I do think that though the USSL battleship on sea is about to make life really uncomfortable. That battleship and cruiser
Okay,
there.
yeah, I'm watching that
We
from the
might
mini
see-
map there.
Yeah, we might see C fall to USSL very quickly if like their cruiser is stuck now. Their cruiser
Let's
cannot
take a
run
look
away.
at Rooster's perspective here. See if we can get a little bit of a better view on it. He's pretty fixed. I mean, Rooster has to be because he's in a destroyer, but he's pretty fixated on what's in front of him. I don't know that we're going to get a good view here of what's going on over there. We may get a better view here from Spank.
Well, C is going to happen all at once, I think, because you have a cruiser destroyer versus cruiser destroyer battleship. USSL really want that C cap, and they're probably going to get it. dedicating a lot of resources
Spank is
to it.
really trying to get a shot on that Buffalo.
Delaware.
Yep,
is
here
coming
comes the
in as
torpedo
well.
strike from the Delaware.
Oh,
It looks pretty good. It looks like he's going to
Yeah,
get
it's gonna
spanked
be
with a
rough.
couple.
yeah, and it's going to force a broadside. It's going to make him show his cheek.
He's hitting the brakes. I think he just
he can follow
accepted it. Yeah, there's 14,000 worth of damage.
Well, he kind of has to. It's like, do I show my
No.
cheek? is the question he's asking
No,
himself.
better
right
off
now.
just to take him. I think you're going to see him back up, though, so that he gets out of the range of those things.
I do still think the angle he's at, though, he could get cheeked. If the Delaware has a good shot, he could still cheek the Musashi here. We're still seeing this battleship cruiser exchange on the sea. I'm really curious to see how this will work out. Is it the Takashi over that side with the torpedoes? That'll be a really interesting play if it is. If that's the Takashi on sea side, that's a really clever way of playing.
No, that the
I just didn't
Takashi
expect.
is on the south side of A.
The one hugging the island.
No, the one out in the
Interesting.
open. The one that just got spotted on the mini map.
Oh, okay. It's a
The
very
one
bold
hugging
play.
the one hugging the island
Definitely
right now, I
try-
believe, is the Buffalo. He's been sitting right there, and he's been doing a pretty good job of staying alive and avoiding damage.
Just contesting the cap when he can. Yeah. I mean, they captured it. All they really have to do is keep contesting it and stopping them from
Yep.
switching it. Again, 7 minutes on the clock, and we still haven't seen a single ship
Yeah,
go
this is
down.
very interesting. Very, very interesting. I mean, this is completely
Both
different from the first two
both
games
teams
we
are
saw.
playing chess. Yeah, like it was like you saw so much like power dynamic shift in the first 4 minutes, but both teams are playing chess right now. They're just moving one grid at a time and seeing if they can, gain a switch. But here's the thing about Legends, once a ship goes down, it becomes a 7v8, then a 6v8. Every time you lose a ship, the odds are progressively stacking less in your favor. So whichever team is the first to take the first enemy ship down is usually at a great advantage, especially if that ship is a destroyer. But Mushashi is having a hard time right now. He's dodging what looks like Smaland or Z-46 torpedoes. He's got the Delaware cross-torping
Yeah,
him.
so the Delaware just dropped his straight on the bow because he's at max range on his hybrid torpedo planes. The Z-46 though is still spamming those at long range. Those are those blue Fiora torps.
If they can shift this Mushashi, it opens up some aggressive play options in B.
Now I think we just saw some shells coming from A to going towards Spank and his Musashi. So I wouldn't be surprised if they try to
they
push
might
him
be
back.
trying.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I think they want to open up B a little bit, especially given that if it's these two destroyers and B meet, Warfare at Sea Pacific have the advantage here because they have an already HE loaded battleship.
Gosh, finally,
As a
finally, you're not
Mushashi.
kidding though about what's going on
Yeah,
up C. I wish I had a camera up there. Hey, you got any?
yeah.
Do
There's
you got
some
any of the
big
dev? Do
brain
you got any of the
plays going
dev
on at
team
sea.
on speed dial? You want to maybe let them know that your good buddy Jenks says free camera in a free roaming camera in training rooms might be cool. I don't know, maybe.
I think we have this. There's the radar cruiser over there trying to counter the destroyer, and that battleship is just very sneakily trying to get a shot on the cruiser. But I honestly think what's happening in B is more interesting right now. You have two destroyers that are playing battleship against each other, trying to blind top, or at least do some
Yeah.
damage. But and then you have these two battleships. But the thing is, the Delaware is loading AP, and the Mushashi is loading HE. And I was thinking to myself, why is the Mushashi loading HE when he has these really big AP caliber guns? And it hit me. He's got HE loaded so that if the destroyers meet, he can support the
True.
destroyer.
True. You look at
So,
the health situation though on the Delaware, and it does appear to me that he's
like right now,
actually
we're
doing
seeing
more
it happen
damage
right
with
now.
the
The
HE.
Like the destroyer just gets spotted right now, and the Mushashi is now was immediately rotating his guns to try and assist. So they're playing the destroyer game here. Mushashi has been hitting the enemy hybrid, but only because he hasn't got any of the valid targets. His real target this whole time has been the Z-46
Boy,
trying
that
to
was
hit him.
some god awful shell
And
grouping
now
he just got on that salvo, but he ended up connecting one of those big ass shells
it,
against
it
the
was.
Z46.
However, it's given his destroyer a very good fighting chance on B, and we have just seen a USSL destroyer go down as well. So we might see an aggressive double destroyer
On
push on
C.
B now
And that
because
they lost that one on C. Yep.
yeah, yeah, like the destroyer that just won the fight on C is now coming over to assist on B. So we're going to see a 2 versus 1 destroyer gunboat fight on B with the Mushashi to play support.
Yeah,
And if they can fold that second
we might see
destroyer,
Rooster get trapped
oh,
here.
yeah, they're cutting off his retreat angles. Look, he's going around the back as we speak.
Let's
from
check
the
this out
island.
from Rooster's perspective. He could potentially be oh, he's spotted
Yeah, here we go. And he's got nowhere to run. He's got a destroyer behind him. Or
behind and
coming
one in
around the
front.
back of
Yep.
him, and one in front of him. Yeah, he's been completely trapped. Here he goes. There comes the flank. The second
Oh
destroyer's
yeah,
come out to play right now.
he just
Yeah,
got hit
crossfired.
big.
That was very
Yeah,
well
Wasp,
played by
well
Warfare. Unfortunately, that was very well played by Wasp.
Analyzing the
caught him,
battlefield,
yeah.
knowing that there's no cruiser support there to help Rooster. We had 2 Wasp destroyers take advantage of it.
And now, I wouldn't be surprised if we start seeing the Mushashi loading AP now. No, that's out of the way. And because the destroyer on C and B have gone down, Warfare at Sea Pacific can now start moving up, playing hyper-aggressive, and just controlling these 2 caps and just playing the late game. And we're seeing it now all at once. Like, all the ships are suddenly firing, and all the ships are getting spotted and detected, and they don't really care so much about being seen anymore because enemy is 3 ships down. They have that lead, and they're
Shadow
just trying to push
Sage is
them
trying
and stop them
desperately to go
from
unspotted.
regrouping. Yep. 2 minutes 50 remaining. 3 down. Yeah, here we go. The Musashi is now loading AP. Yeah, and now he's going to start coming in. He's hasn't got a whole lot of health left, but it only takes one shot of a Musashi, and that's the problem. He's trying to catch this Takeshi that just accidentally beached.
Curious to see if he goes broadside here, if the Delaware is going to try and take a shot at him.
We're seeing the USSL Lepanto going up against the Kronderstadt, trying to get his guns off as well. But he just took a big hit. Was that from the Musashi? No.
I don't think so. Oh, and Spank, yeah,
he just took a big hit
Spank
from
just
someone.
got hit from Delaware.
Yeah. I mean, that stalemate has been happening all game. You know, these two ships popping shots back and forth. But I think it's the Musashi is just trying to, you know,
there's a Citadel.
The weaker side right
There's
now for them. Yeah, it is. He's basically decided, well, the enemy Louisiana is over in B, sure, but we have B locked down, we have C locked down. If I can get a shot over on Takeshi or another cruiser and take one of them down, that basically guarantees A is locked down, and that'll be the end of the game, really. So even if he dies
and
here...
the Takahashi just beached broadside, so he's backing up into Spank's shells here.
Yeah. Yeah. Not spectacular hits, but any damage is still good damage.
An act of desperation from Snake here coming out in the Buffalo.
The deep water's coming in, yeah. Not going to connect.
And, oof, overpens.
I think the Musashi is going to fall here. But the Musashi did his job. Like, Musashi in this battle was never intended to be a big damage dealer or to do anything spectacular. His main job was just sit
the
in
rock
B,
that everybody breaks the waves on. Yeah,
just like support the destroyer and just make it really awkward for the enemy. And they managed that.
Boy, and you just saw how quickly a Buffalo's health can disappear.
Yeah, glad to see it fall. Yeah. Well, these were some great battles. I mean, we saw both teams come in with a pretty clearly defined strategy. Although, as we said, if you have a strategy that plays out in the first 4 minutes, it also has the potential to fall in the first 4 minutes. And when that happens, you kind of have to scramble to kind of reposition. And it's difficult to reposition if there are battleships in places specifically to counter that exact kind of regrouping. And I hate to sound like I'm being biased towards one team because I'm absolutely not, but these battles were played very well by Warfare Sea Pacific. They obviously had a strategy coming in that was very well rehearsed. They knew exactly where they were going to place their ships. They knew exactly what areas of the map they didn't want the enemy to place their ships, and they had strategies to prevent that, and they just played the long game. And in these 3 battles, it worked very well for them.
I think the tactic for USSL was try to get on the caps quickly and get the points swinging their way to make the other team more aggressive, and I think patience just paid off. Which makes sense on
why they picked Elbing.
I think patience just paid off for WASP.
It did for sure. I think lack of Lucian and this strange pick of an Elbing in the first 2 battles cost quite heavily. I think Elbing, although is a great ship and is a great choice on certain maps, it can only really be utilized in budging these cruisers. But if you can't get a shot on these cruisers because the battleships are firing lines and the destroyers are watching the lanes, it's better to switch this to something that's a bit more fast and maneuverable, which they only really did in the 3rd game.
Agree 100% on the take on the Elbing for sure. I couldn't have said it any better.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
For sure.
That is it.
These games were heavily determined by the destroyers. Is the unfortunate reality. But these are some great games.
I've always tried to stay, and I will continue to do so in the future. I always try to stay unbiased when we're talking about the teams that we're matched up against. I do want to say though, very nice job to Warfare at Sea Pacific. That is one of my sister fleets, and I'm very proud of them. Those guys definitely look like they were prepped and ready to go on that one. So my hat's off to you guys. GG. USSL, you guys are classy dudes over there. Hey, make sure you guys say hi to Endeavor for me.
These early game strategies.
Tell Endeavor Jank misses them, man.
These balls to the wall, full send it first 4 minute strategies, dude. They either work really well or they don't, and you have to have a pair of rockets between your legs to be able to want to play them in these high level plays. So. USSL, they're not bad players. They came in with a strategy in mind, and they knew exactly how they wanted to play. didn't mesh well with the long game that Warfare at Sea Pacific were playing. But both teams had spectacular plays here. And
Again, nobody,
ultimately,
nobody did anything that I would say was, ill-advised. It was just you have teams that are matched up against each other, competitive teams that are very good, and then you see usually for about the first 5 to 7 minutes, you're getting the touchy-feely out of the way. You're trying to get the feel of where they are on the map, what ships they're playing, how they're playing them, how they're building them, because you can figure out that when I'm getting torpedoes every 40 seconds, they're obviously not running a gunboat build. And you're kind of getting that concept, and then when you start to understand the rhythm, then you start to see the moves made about 6, 7, 8 minutes into the game. And none of these games were a steamroll all the way through until a few minutes left in the game. That was when they started to break open.
Yeah, everything happened in the last 4 minutes. In terms of, at least Warfare at Sea Pacific plays, we saw a lot of the early plays for USSL in the first 4 minutes. So it was complete polar opposites, really. And then you had all the movement in the first half of the game for USSL, and then all the movement for Warfare at Sea Pacific in the late half, and then in the middle was just like this chess battle where nothing was really moving, but they all had very clearly defined objectives that they were trying to push through. So
definitely
good games. They were
Final,
interesting.
thanks for jumping in, man.
It's definitely.
Hey, we're gonna have to make this a routine now,
problem.
where I basically don't include your comms for the first 10 minutes because I want the spotlight all to myself.
The first game.
I'm an idiot.
I did ask. I said, "Do you want an audio check this time to make sure?"
One of these days I'm gonna get the hang of it. Not.
So that's gonna be a meme. Like, do you want an audio check? No. It's okay.
Make it into a
But,
GIF.
thanks for having me. I'm gonna, as all good house guests know, I know when to take my leave and not overstay my welcome. So I will very shortly be heading off. But it was amazing to catch up with you all, and it was great to see these battles. And good luck to all the teams moving forward for the rest of the Fleet Network.
Final,
battles.
you are welcome.
Thank you for
are
having me,
welcome
Jim.
here anytime, my man. You are welcome anytime. It's always good to
No
have
problem.
you, brother.
Have a great day, everyone.
Have a good night.
Take care. Goodbye.
All right, everybody. That is going to do it for me. Thank you so much for watching. Congratulations, Warfare at Sea Pacific, my sister fleet over there. You guys did awesome. USSL, you guys are a class act. You stay with it, and you guys are going to be something great coming up here. Everybody, Jenks signing off. I got to get some sleep. I got to work tonight. Peace out. Mwah, mwah.